Could we have misunderstood Christianity for centuries? What if the greatest villain in Christian history wasn't a villain at all? What if Judas Iscariot, the man who betrayed Jesus, wasn't the betrayer we think he was, but instead the disciple who truly understood Jesus? Today we will uncover the hidden Gospel of Judas, a lost text that shatters everything that we thought we knew about betrayal, salvation, and the divine plan. Our story begins in the 1970s, Egypt. A group of local farmers or possibly grave robbers stumble upon a burial cave near El Minya. Looking for treasure and a quick buck, they search the cave. They find a dusty old limestone box. Hoping for treasure, they open it up. What lies in the box is not treasure, but an ancient papyrus manuscript bound in leather. What they didn't realize at that time is that they had uncovered one of the most significant and controversial religious texts in history, the Gospel of Judas. Hidden for centuries, this ancient manuscript would ignite global debates about the diversity of early Christianity, the role of Judas Iscariot, and the shaping of religious orthodoxy. The find, what became known as the Chacos Codex, contained not only the Gospel of Judas, but also other early Christian writings, offering a rare glimpse into a suppressed and forgotten theological world. The farmers, unaware of what they had found, sell the manuscript to a local antiquities dealer for a quick buck. This marks the beginning of a convoluted journey, turning into a real-life Indiana Jones movie plot, filled with intrigue and twists, secret meetings and robberies, mishandling of the document, forgotten in a humid New York deposit box for 16 years, and even frozen at some point. By the time it reaches the hands of experts, 10 to 15% of the document is totally destroyed or unreadable. It becomes so fragile that it breaks apart to the slightest touch and broken to tiny leaves, mixed up like a jigsaw puzzle. The find was finally made public by Professor Rodolphe Kesser at a conference in Paris 2004. If you are interested in the full story, I can recommend reading Bart Ehrman's book called The Lost Gospel of Judas Iscariot. He's one of the scholars who were asked to verify the authenticity of these documents prior to making them public. Okay, what do we know about the Gospel of Judas? Who wrote it and when? Actually, we don't really know who was the author, but we can be pretty certain that it wasn't Judas himself. Just like the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John wasn't written by the four apostles, but by some later scholars. All we know is that it's a non-canonical Gnostic Gospel, written in Coptic. The papyrus itself was dated to 280 AD, plus or minus 60 years. However, it's most likely a translation or a copy of an earlier text. How do we know this? Because Irenaeus, a Greek bishop and heresy hunter, mentioned the Gospel of Judas in one of his earlier works against heresies in 180 AD. Scholars like, for example, Eileen Pagels and Karen L. King places the creation of the original document around the middle of the 2nd century, just about 50 years later than the creation of the Gospel of John, which is our latest canonical Gospel, about 70 years after Christ's death. What does the Gospel of Judas reveal? It's a truly fascinating, a completely fresh perspective. It's a Gnostic text. If you are not familiar with Gnostics, then you are in for a ride. It's gonna get wild. Let's dive into the actual text. The Gospel starts with a strange scene between Jesus and his disciples. One day he was with his disciples in Judea. He found them sitting together, practicing their piety. When he came up to his disciples sitting together, praying over the bread, he laughed. The disciples said to him, "Master, why are you laughing at our prayer? What have we done? This is what's right." He answered and said to them, "I'm not laughing at you. You are not doing this because you want to, but because through this your God will be praised." They said, "Master, you are the Son of our God." Jesus said to them, "How do you know me? Truly I say to you, no generation of people among you will know me." Wait, what? Jesus laughing? We never seen him laugh before. Strange. Did you notice what he said? Your God. And no generation of people among you will know me. Bear with me for now. I promise you, this all will make sense at the end. Let's continue.
When his disciples heard this, they started to get angry and furious and started to curse him in their hearts. But when Jesus noticed their ignorance and said to them, "Why are you letting your anger trouble you? Has your God within you and his stars become angry with your souls? If any of you is strong enough among you humans to bring out the perfect humanity, stand up and face me." All of them said, "We are strong enough," but their spirits weren't brave enough to stand before him, except Judas Iscariot. He was able to stand before him, but he couldn't look him in the eye, so he looked away. Judas said to him, "I know who you are and where you came from. You came from the immortal Rome of Barbello, and I'm not worthy to utter the name of the one who sent you."
We can all feel it. There is a tension in the air between Jesus and his disciples. They worship a different God, a false God. Judas is the only one who recognizes Jesus for who he truly is. He was sent from the immortal Rome of Barbello. This is getting weirder by the minute. The cosmology revealed here is completely different than the one we are familiar with. And the strangeness doesn't stop there. A few days later, the disciples come to Jesus with a bizarre dream, one that will deepen the divide between them and reveal even more about the radical message of this gospel.
They said, "We saw a great house with a great altar in it, and 12 people. We would say they were priests, and a name. And a crowd of people was waiting at the altar until the priests finished receiving the offerings. We kept waiting too." Jesus said, "What were they like?" And they said, "Some fast for 2 weeks, others sacrifice their own children, others their wives, praising and humbling themselves among each other. Others sleep with men, others murder, yet others commit many sins and do criminal things. And the people standing before the altar invoke your name. And in all their sacrifice they fill the altar with their offerings." When they said this, they fell silent because they were troubled.
With Jesus' answer, we will see how big is the discrepancy between his and the views of the disciples. They are totally in the dark. They know nothing about the true reality.
Jesus said to them, "You are the ones receiving the offerings on the altar you have seen. That's the God you serve, and you are the 12 people you have seen. And the animals you saw brought in to be sacrificed are the crowd you lead astray. Your minister will stand up and use my name like that, and the generation of the pious will be loyal to him. It's been said to the human generations, 'Look, God has accepted your sacrifice from the hands of priests.' That is the minister of error, but the Lord who commands is the Lord of everything. On the last day they will be found guilty."
So, what does this all mean? Why is Jesus harshly criticizing the disciples, accusing them of being the very corrupted priests that they had witnessed? In this section, the author of the text directs his criticism at false Christians, such as those who outwardly display piety but lack genuine spiritual understanding. What constitutes this spiritual understanding, and to whom is the author referring? It's most likely aimed at non-Gnostic Christians, such as figures like Irenaeus, and Christian groups that eventually formed the foundation of the orthodoxy. The genuine spiritual understanding is gnosis, aka salvation by secret knowledge. The author accuses these false Christians of engaging in some of the most reprehensible and immoral acts of their time, all in the name of Jesus, while worshipping a false god. These are some significant accusations. Interestingly, Jesus also condemns the practice of animal sacrifice. Gnostics generally reject the physical acts of worship in favor of spiritual enlightenment. I told you it's going to get wild, but before getting into the best part, the secret revelation of Jesus to Judas, let's see Judas's vision.
Judas said, "Master, just as you have listened to all of them, now listen to me too, because I have seen a great vision." But Jesus laughed when he heard this. He said to him, "Why are you all worked up, you 13th demon? But speak up, I will bear with you." Judas said to him, "In the vision I saw myself. The 12 disciples were stoning me and chasing me rapidly, And I also came to a place where I had followed you. I saw a house in this place, and my eye couldn't measure its size. Great people surrounded it, and the house had a roof of greenery. In the middle of the house was a crowd. Master, take me in with these people.
Here we get another odd reaction from Jesus. The 13th demon, I'm not sure what is that all about. Also, we get a new narrative, a foreshadowing of Judas's death, stoned by the disciples. Interestingly, in the New Testament, we also have deviations in the narrative of Judas's death. Two totally different accounts. One from Matthew, which most of you all is probably familiar with. Judas returns the money to the head priest, then hangs himself out of remorse. And the second, lesser-known account is in the book of Acts. Judas acquires a field with the money he gained from the betrayal, then he falls headlong on the field. His body bursts open and his guts spill out. Pretty gruesome. This is another fascinating rabbit hole to go down in, investigating the many narratival differences between the same stories in the New Testament. I want to make a video about this as well, so please subscribe. Let's return to the text. After Judas shares his vision with Jesus, they engage in a discussion that I will leave out for now to keep the story concise. In essence, Jesus concludes by promising to reveal the true nature of reality to Judas. Now, let's dive into the moment that we have all been waiting for.
Jesus said, "Come, and I will teach you about the mysteries that no human will see, because there exists a great and boundless realm, whose horizon no angelic generation has seen, in which is a great invisible spirit, which no angelic eye has ever seen, no heart has ever comprehended, and it's never been called by any name." And the luminous cloud appeared there. And the Spirit said, "Let an angel come into being to attend me." And the great angel, the self-begotten, the God of the light, emerged from the cloud. And because of him, another 4 angels came into being from another cloud, and they attended the angelic self-begotten. And said the self-begotten, "Let a realm come into being," and it came into being just as he said, and he created the first luminaries to rule over it.
It continues with the self-begotten, creating myriads of angels, luminous realms to be ruled over. Then it talks about an archetypal primordial human called Adamus.
And Adamus was in the first cloud of light, that no angel could ever see among all those called God.
Interestingly, Adamus plays a role in creation. He creates Seth. If you are not familiar with Seth, he is mentioned in the book of Genesis as the 3rd son of Adam and Eve. Then, Adamus creates the incorruptible generation of Seth. Do you remember at the beginning when Jesus laughed at the disciples for praying over the bread and said,
"Truly, I say to you, no generation of people among you will know me."
Here, Jesus is referring to the false Christians and the corrupted generation of the disciples, contrasting them with the incorruptible generation of Seth. Actually, there was a group of Sethian Gnostics who believed that they had upheld the divine lineage of Seth, thought about themselves as a group of enlightened souls who belonged to this incorruptible generation. The account of the creation continues, filled with numerology, which I will leave out for now. Many luminaries, angels, realms, heavens, firmaments are created by Adamus and the angels.
Now, the crowd of those immortals is called Cosmos.
Okay, but where are the humans and the earth in all of this? Here is where the theology takes another significant turn. Let's explore what Jesus has to say about the creation of humanity, and to understand why he laughed at the disciples, remarking, "Your God will be praised."
After these things, Ararat said, "Let 12 angels come into being to rule over chaos and Hades." And look, from the cloud there appeared an angel whose face flashed with fire and whose likeness was defiled by blood. His name was Nebro, which means rebel. Others call him Yeldebaoth. And another angel, Saklas, came from the cloud too. So Nebro created 6 angels, and Saklas did too, to be assistants. They brought out 12 angels in the heavens, with each of them receiving a portion in the heavens. Then Saklas said to his angels, "Let's create a human being after the likeness and the image." And they fashioned Adam and his wife Eve, who in the cloud is called Life. They will sleep around in my name, murder their children, bring the 12 tribes of Israel, and the generation will all serve Saklas, sinning in my name, and your star will rule over the 13th Rome. Then Jesus laughed.
What did Jesus reveal to us here? Did you catch it? Humanity and the material world were not created by the true God, but by Saklas. This figure appears in various Gnostic texts, such as the Apocryphon of John and other Nag Hammadi writings. Saklas, whose name means fool in Aramaic, is one of the names assigned to the demiurge, a lower flawed divine entity often associated with the creation of the material world. This perspective represents the Gnostic response to the problem of evil. Why there is so much suffering and evil in this world? Because they believe it was created by an ignorant and flawed being who arrogantly proclaimed himself God, leading humanity astray. The Gospel claims Jesus came to liberate us from the evil God of the Old Testament and lead us back to the one true God. Then, why did Jesus have to die? And why did Judas hand him over to the authorities? Let's see what the text tells us.
Jesus said, "Tomorrow they will torture the one who bears me. Truly, I say to you, no hand of mortal human will fall upon me. Truly, I say to you, Judas, those who offer sacrifice to Saklas, everything that's evil. But you will do more than all of them, because you will sacrifice the human who bears me. Your horn has already been raised, your anger has been kindled, your star has ascended, and your heart has strayed. Look, you have been told everything. Lift up your eyes and see the cloud within the light, in it, and the stars around it. And the star that leads the way is your star."
So, what does this all mean? Judas Iscariot's act of betraying Jesus is not portrayed as treachery, but as a part of a divinely ordained plan. Judas was chosen by Jesus for a unique purpose: to assist in freeing him from the constraints of the material world and help him fulfill his mission. In this view, Jesus did not die as a sacrifice for humanity's sin, nor to appease a bloodthirsty God of the Old Testament, but to demonstrate a potential for transcending the limitations of our physical existence. His death serves as a profound example of liberation through spiritual enlightenment, guiding us to discover the divine spark within ourselves and achieve true freedom. So, what do you think of this Gnostic interpretation of Christianity? After knowing all this, it's no wonder why the Gnostics viewed Irenaeus' proto-orthodoxy as superficial and lacking in depth. So, what is our conclusion? In the earliest days of Christianity, a wide range of movements and beliefs flourished, until the 4th century, when Emperor Constantine rose to power. There was no unified or central form of Christianity, no established orthodoxy. Many people are taught and often assume that there was always a single and unified interpretation of Christianity. This is why the discoveries of the Chakos Codex, the Nag Hammadi Library, and the Dead Sea Scrolls are so significant. They provide compelling evidence of the diversity and vastly different interpretations of early Christianity, Christ's life, teaching, and death. I dive into similar thought-provoking topics in this channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you disagree, leave a comment. Bye!